I'm Gilbert Erongot. I'm privileged to stand before you because I'm pretty sure I'm standing before doctors and professors, and so I feel privileged to be able to train you. And I'll be taking you through production tools. And I'm pretty sure most of the production tools, you've used them before. And at one point I felt it was not necessary for me to train you how to use this. But the question would be, how effective are we using these tools in teaching and learning? Okay? My expectation after this, the question would be, how effective are we using ICTs for teaching and learning? And we all know that with the internet age, the youngsters are nowadays exposed, and their life experiences are totally different. The way they live their lives is not the way lives were lived in the past century. It is slightly different. The world is a little faster. The people are now exposed to a lot of information. By just a click of a button, someone is able to access so much information, which was not in the past, where we were basically using the hard copy materials and you have to go to the library to access all this information. So that means teaching in this internet age means we must teach tomorrow's skills. So from this session, I expect us to be able to fit ourselves in the internet age, to be able to get on board and work with the new technologies. So this session is divided into basic elements or parts, and the first part is going to talk about basic productivity. Then the second part will be talking about using basic productivity tools in teaching and learning. Okay. Then we shall have a brief introduction to photos, audio, and video editing tools. We've already seen one that Gilbert has used, the audio one that he talked about, that was Audacity. So we shall also be looking at some tools, if time allows, for photo and video editing. I remember, Professor, behind there, we were producing, I was working with Carol, and we were producing a photo story for the GPE project. And his photo surfaced as one of the photos that we are trying to report back to the ministry on the progress of the implementation of the IGRA component within the GPE project. And it was so interesting because we moved from photo storing into video scribing, and it was so informative. And from these photo stories, there was a very good experience that a lot of information was being passed on without too much explanation. So we shall be able to look at how we can come up with photos and how we can use these photos for teaching and learning, to enhance our teaching and learning. So, like I said, the three parts, we shall have basic productivity tools, then we shall learn how to use these productivity tools in teaching and learning, then we shall have a brief insight into those different components, the photo, audio, and video editing tools. And I would love to remind you that this training by UNESCO is divided into 3 phases. And this first phase is basically the basics. It is not the complex things. So the things that we shall do here are things that we've used every day, and we keep using them every day, and that will be at the basic level. Then much later we shall be able to, maybe in the next phase that begins in March, it will be a little bit more complex. So our first part, that is about basic productivity tools. I would wonder if we are going to to use the ATL approach, the active teaching and learning, whereby we shall be involved. So I wanted to know if we to share our ideas, we brainstorm on these productivity tools. So what do you understand by basic productivity tools? Okay, I'm very sure we go to teach, or we go and lecture, and we don't go by ourselves to class. We have to carry certain things, and I'm pretty sure for us to come up with these training materials, we go through a certain process to develop these tools, or we use certain tools to produce these materials that we use. Okay, so this is basically what we're going to talk about, but this is going to be in context with ICT. So in this context, the basic productivity tools we are talking about are computer software programs which allow a user to create specific items quickly and as easily as possible, okay, as opposed to the traditional way of coming up with some of these materials. Okay, so we are going to talk about, in this session, we are going to talk about the computer software. There's some programs that we use, and I'm very sure we use these programs every day. Okay, so we shall talk about the programs. So, like I said, we shall use the ATL approach. Maybe we can write on a flashcard or a piece of paper at least 3 basic productivity tools that we use, but in line with our definition, which is computer software programs. So we can come up with basic productivity tools which are computer based, that we use, the 3 basic productivity tools that we use every day. Maybe let's go back to our definition. In the context of this training, we are talking about computer software programs. So we are talking about, we can have both the hardware and the software. So now we are zeroing down to only the software. Okay? So from that, we are talking about computer software programs. Like yeah, you're correct, but we want to narrow it down. Yeah. Program. Okay, so he has Word. Okay. PowerPoint, yes. Paint, yes. Photoshop. Okay, any other? YouTube. Okay.
Use Google.
Google, yes. Google.
Use Moodle.
Moodle. Perfect. Any other?
Microsoft Word.
Word, yes, it was mentioned. So maybe the question now would be, what do we use these tools? We need to understand, yes, we use these tools, but how effective do you use them? Do you use them for the right purpose? Do we use them when we are supposed to use them? Do we use them effectively? So I want us to share and reflect about some of these tools. How effective do we use Word? For instance, if I'm going to make a presentation, why did I come here and not use Word to make my presentation? Would it be more effective for me to use Word or PowerPoint presentation? Which one would be more effective? So this is what we need to, yes, it depends.
Yes.
Exactly, yes. And if we've heard of spreadsheets. Okay, basically, in this training, I thought we would narrow down to basically 4 categories of softwares. We would narrow down to spreadsheets. We would narrow down to word processing, which is MS Word. Then we should narrow down to presentations, which is a PowerPoint presentation as one of them. Then we could narrow down to mind mapping as well. So I want us to reflect about the 4 that we've talked about. And the 4 are a drawing tool,
Paint.
We use Paint. Should we talk about Paint? Okay. Yeah, let us now look at the 5. Let us look at word processing. We can write them on a piece of paper. Well, word processing. We are going to share word processing, presentation, then spreadsheets, then drawing, then mind mapping, the 5. And this is how we are going to do it. We had an activity there which was saying write a summary about each of the identified basic productivity tools in your day-to-day life and present it to your colleagues using any of the tools. But because of the interest of time, we're going to just share our experiences. We need to know and learn from each other. Okay? And Prof has already told us about when he's doing his research, he would rather use Word at that point to explain something that he would want the learners to do as opposed to PowerPoint. And the next tool that I would love us to discuss is about drawing. Then we shall talk about mind mapping. We shall basically look at those two because we are familiar with presentation and spreadsheets. So which tools do you use when you're drawing?
I thought we would start with word processing.
We do word processing? Okay, now this is the task. We have 5 tools, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each one of us is going to Google and find information about any of those basic productivity tools.
Okay.
So we have word processing, presentation, spreadsheets, the mind mapping, and tell us about drawing. Which tools specific? Because that is very wide. We have Microsoft Word that comes with its own tools, Excel and that and that and that. Okay? But now we want to have the broad appreciation of these tools. Like Gilbert previously talked about the open source tools. Can we utilize some of these tools? Okay? So we want to discover more things about some of these tools and not narrow ourselves to MS Office. You can give us a definition and some of the particular softwares that you can use. And I'm sure we've all used these tools, so this should be a walk in a park. Findings. But then before you proceed, what do you think the difference is between a tool, a software tool, and a software application? Okay, developing and using. Those are the 2 keywords. Developing and using. A tool being the development process. Okay? Then the app is using that software. It's the software that you actually use to do the actual work. Now, you see, that is a very confusing aspect, especially when it comes to software. Now, when you're doing software development, the way... Okay, I will ask you this. You've heard of an M&E tool.
Yes.
And you will use a software called Excel to develop an M&E tool.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
So what is the difference between the M&E tool that you've developed using Excel and the Excel, the software, the MS Excel? What is the relationship? What is the difference?
The difference is that the M&E tool is a product.
Okay.
They have got out of that tool called Excel.
Okay. So is Excel a tool or a software application?
Excel now is a software application, and inside it you have different tools you use.
Do you have any other argument. Because it's now smelling. Because you see how it, yeah? I remember one time when I was presenting my my dissertation. We developed a database. We didn't know if we should call it a tool or an application. So when the panel, they asked us, is this a software, is this an application, or it is a tool? But we didn't know what the difference was. Okay? So they actually told us that what we had developed cannot be a software or an application, and it cannot be a tool. And we were very confused. We were like, so what does that imply? So they told us that, and this is how I came to understand it from their explanation. They told us what we had developed will become a tool, okay, in the process of developing. It will become a tool when they start using it. Okay? So it will become a tool. Okay? Then like he talked about the environment, the development, because we used IDEs, integrated development environments. There were about 3 different development environments that we used. So those were actually the applications that we used to develop that tool. And from what Dr. Ejus just said, I don't know if you could qualify the M&E being a tool that you develop using a certain software, or it is the different, how should I call them, the different tools, or I don't know, the different abilities or things that you can actually use. Because I can save, I can do this, I can do this, I can add this drawing, I can add a circle, I can add a square, I can add a triangle in my drawing.
Okay, I was looking at it in this way. If I go by the M&E tool,
yes,
when that paper goes out the field, that is when it's a tool.
Okay.
When it is in my computer,
It is not yet a tool.
But within that computer, I'm using the different features in Excel as tools.
The different features,
yes,
as tools.
To change it, to modify it as tools.
Okay.
But in a bigger context, I would also start to say Excel is also another tool I can use for developing M&E.
Okay. So would we quantify, or could we refer to Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Paint as programs?
Yes, I think they are programs, but they can also be applications.
Okay.
But at a certain context, they are my tools for teaching.
So, and that answers the question. So these programs or tools or application, the name changes on the way you're using them.
Yes.
On their usage.
Yes.
But what I think is this: different software developers, especially when it comes to drawing, the drawing people call them the tools within the program. When you look at eDraw, you'll have the different tools.
Yes.
When you look at Photoshop, they will call them tools.
Yes.
When you look at Illustrator, they will call them tools. When you look at Paint, they call them tools.
Yes.
And if you look at even MS Word or MS Excel, there is a certain tab called tools.
Yes.
You understand? But those tools, they are tools in their own right because they help you accomplish a certain task. Okay? But they are embedded within a certain application. Okay? But the actual software or the actual program is the application, and it has certain tools. But those tools doesn't make Excel a tool or anything. It remains the application. But these developers chose to call them tools, like he said, to avoid that confusion. But they are basically features, like he chooses to use them. I would refer to them as features. But when you come to software development, a certain software becomes to a level of being called an application if it passes through certain criteria and achieve its and how it is being used by different people. When they've just used it, or a certain number of people are using that software or the developed software, it is called a tool at a certain point. So when they become so many, it now becomes the application. Okay?
So
I hope, yes.
Your question to me,
Yes.
Identify the different softwares for the drawing.
Exactly.
So that I'll give the answers like Adobe Illustrator for all.
Exactly. Exactly. We wanted to look at the programs, not the tools within the Are we, because you could get a snipping, you have a crimping tool, you could have, you know, a snipping tool, you would have so many tools within that. Are we clear on that? I hope we shall not confuse the tools and the applications and the software. Their target group was primary schools. So one of the ladies came up and said, now we are talking about tools that we can use for the same way of saying productivity tools. So they suggested that an operating system is a productivity tool that you use for teaching and learning. Okay? It was a very, very big argument. Then I completely said no, because an operating system is a platform that these other productivity tools sit. Okay? So it was a very heated debate. But you see, operating system was one of the things they were teaching the participants were supposed to learn how to operate the computer. And of course the operations are on that platform, the operating system. Like the way we are running Mozilla, everything that is running on this computer. So then okay, the conclusion is like, okay, let's include it as a productivity tool. But all of you are disagreeing that it is actually not a productivity tool, that it is for teaching and learning. Okay? Now, exactly. Now, when we are having a training at Nakawa, the similar thing came up. Someone listed Windows, which is an operating system, as a productivity tool. And I decided to give it a benefit of the doubt and give it a pass. And the explanation I gave was this. The actual definition of an operating system is the platform on which other softwares run. It is like, it governs, it is the government of the computer. You know, it does do this. It governs how the computer runs, precisely. Then I remembered a time, a story that I read, and they were talking about how Bill Gates, the richest, one of the richest men, and he's the owner of the Microsoft company. He was sued in the early 90s. I'm not sure if it is between 90 and 93, one of those years. And the reason as to why he was sued was because when he was developing Microsoft, when they're getting the rights, the copyrights and whatever legal things they were doing, they were supposed to develop Microsoft Windows as an operating system. But it so happened that Microsoft, the operating system, started coming with softwares or computer programs that were running on top of it. Okay? So when I get my CD that has Windows and I install the Windows on my computer, I would have programs like the Windows Media Player. Okay? And now other companies had got rights to be software developers, you know, but for them they're now going an extra mile of not just producing an operating system, but they are putting computer programs or softwares on the operating system. And yet they didn't have the right to do that. They were coming with things like Notepad. You know, Notepad is also a word processing tool that we've left out, okay? But it is not so effective when it comes to our day-to-day stuff. So Microsoft was sued and they actually lost the case and they had to pay a huge sum of money because they were actually not doing the operating system, only they were now doing something that was very colossal, that was way beyond that. So, and this brings the question, from what I just said, would an operating system be a productivity tool? Because now the operating system, because they now have the right to put that on top. Okay, perfect, I like that. If the operating system by itself cannot be a productivity tool, and we all have to agree that it cannot be a productivity tool. But now the question, the million-dollar question is this: can I name Microsoft or Windows as a productivity tool?
Yes.
Or can I name Ubuntu? Because you also know Ubuntu is an operating system, but it comes with so many things. One of the tools he talked about was under spreadsheets was is it Numbers? Yeah. It comes with Ubuntu. Okay, so you see, when these other Unix systems, now they moved from just being the operating system, and now they also come with certain tools. So would I name Ubuntu as a tool, productivity tool, and also name Windows as a productivity tool? But before I supplement, do we, I know we are all teacher trainers, but do we appreciate the importance of mind mapping and how good and useful it is in, okay, I wouldn't say memorizing, but helping learners to understand some of these concepts? Why I'm saying this is, mind mapping cannot, I don't know if you've had a session on collaborative learning, and mind mapping is one of the tools that we could actually use for collaboration.
And it was used.
It was used for collaboration, and I hope you used was it MindMeister? MindMeister is the tool that you can use for collaborative learning. So mind maps are not just any tool like that, but when properly used, you can use them as well for collaborative learning. MindMeister. If you Google, they will give you. You should actually have some of these accounts. Mind, the word M-E. Let me see if I can type it here. Oh, Notepad. The spelling is MindMeister, like that. So that is the one. Mind map software, if you look over there, mindmeister.com. So if you go there, you can actually do some mind mapping, and this would be very helpful, especially when you're doing some brainstorming and getting opinions from the different learners. They make some suggestions here and there. Okay? Now, when the issue of drawing came up, I was very, very excited. It was not part of what I had prepared. But then it reminded me of a certain tool called eDraw. Unfortunately, I'm not using my laptop, so most of the laptops the laptop I have doesn't have it installed, but I thought it is very, 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 very important, like I've put it. It is very important, each one of us, to have this tool, because it will make your life very easy. eDraw. You can download a copy so that each one of you can have this, because it will make life very easy for you. One, because it is specifically for drawing. You can also use it for mind mapping. You can do a lot of things, and it is also designed for the different fields. It has specific tools you can use for engineering. The drawings are already there. For IT, when you're coming to networks and all that, they're already there. For designers, these guys who are doing tailoring and all that, you have the drawings already there for you. For the teachers, the drawings are there for you. eDraw has all these things. For medicine, everything is, just name the field and you get it under eDraw. It is a very easy software to use. It is very easy to use. It is very easy, and you'll not use the drawing of of Word or anything else, it is so interesting, it is so perfect. So when he talked about Idro, and I know drawings disturb a lot, and you can actually download it online. They can give you a 30 days trial, okay? Then you can try it out. I thought I would demonstrate to you how it is used, but it is very good. It runs on all platforms. You can see you have Mac over there, you have Windows over there. It runs on all the platforms. It is called Idro. The latest version is Max version 8. But please try it out. You will not believe it. It is very good. Yeah. So when you go to download, you'll be able to download it there. Yeah, 164, just there. So it is usually, you have to, they give you a 30 days trial, but then the one I have, you will be able to use it. So, we have done a lot, but I want us to do something. Google the most used tools for teaching and learning. Then we see the results from there. You can put in Google. Let us Google the most used tools for teaching and learning. Maybe I can just a point of information. Have you ever realized that why I'm saying this is because we are going to get different results. Have you ever realized that if Mr. Ali or Mr. Eju or anybody else, Mr. Ngobi, types in Google the results, you might use the same phrase and the results are different. Have you ever realized that? Yeah. Have you ever wondered why it is like that?
Like yours are different, mine are different.
Yeah. Have you ever asked yourself why it is like that? Because it is very important to know why it's always like that. I'm saying we use the same keywords.
The same words,
Have you ever wondered? I know it's not part of this, but it's very good for us to know. So we are going to get different results, but there are particular results that I want. So I'm going to see if, and I think during the ATL training we did this, but I want us to experience this as well, because I'm sure some of us are not there. Who has the top 200? The top 200. You're using your laptop?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm using this also, they are top 200.
Okay.